this thing's a piece of shit. So, if this is actually working, it won't let me stream scheduled events, but it'll let me stream live events. That's... what the fuck? Apparently it is working. Apparently. So that makes no sense. It's now 25 past 7. I've spent the last 40, 50 minutes trying to start up my scheduled event. But yeah, that didn't work. For some reason. It won't let me. It won't let me. I don't understand. It's like, yeah, you can live stream. It's like clicking live stream straight away. Okay. Or but when it comes to the schedule event, when I put that in and click to live stream that, it won't let me. It's telling me to test my bandwidth and make sure that my settings are set correctly, which I think they are. Like I can stream now, but I can't stream for a schedule event which has the same settings. So I don't know, man. I use XSplit. If you know anything about XSplit, feel free to inform me. The focus on this is probably way off. We'll share Fugit. So, what's the crack? How are you keeping? I have a wire going across me from my PC on my right hand side, across my leg, to the webcam yonder. To that webcam, which is annoying me. So I need duct tape. So what's new? Not much. Seems there's been rumours of Gorka Morka. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm interested to see what way that would go, but I don't know. They'll turn it into like what they've done with Necromunda, where it's not a case of you buy one book and you have the rules. It's a case of you buy a book, you get a book with the core set that'll let you use like a 2D map that comes with it. But if you want rules for 3D rules, you have to buy another book for that. And then if you want rules for additional gangs, you have to buy books for them. So it's kind of like codexes, which isn't what the original Necromunda was like. The whole point behind the Skirmish games was you bought the book and your small gang and you played the games and away you went. But I don't know. I think they're rebooting Specialist games, but they're putting their new Games Workshop twist to it. So we'll see what happens there. Titanicus was announced last weekend. That's that's interesting. That's come out in plastic. I have absolutely no desire to buy into it unless there's orc gargants, because I collect orcs. So if there's no orcs, I won't be buying in. And I don't think it's going to be cheap either. Like, the models look cool, don't get me wrong. Like, they've a Warlord Titan about... I don't know if it's the size of a knight, but it looks decent anyway, so... yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Grand tournaments. There was the Warhammer Fest Grand Tournament was won by an orc player, and Warhammer players the world over have been salty as hell about it. Oh, orcs are OP, this guy slow played, blah 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 blah. Like, my god, man. Get over it. He managed to win with orcs. That's an accomplishment in and of itself, like. So what I'm doing here is a new color scheme. So Canvas sent me a link to a video that a dude was doing in regards to orc skin. This is supposed to be sort of a more neutral skin color, more natural sort of, but they're green orcs, so natural skin color, less cartoony I think is the terminology would be best used. But to be honest with you, it's like, I don't mind cartoony. But whatever, Canvas seemed to think it was a good idea. I actually like the look of this dude's finished model, and I'm trying to paint a miniature which is about 1.5 feet away from me, when normally it's about this far. I normally paint like this. And now it's like I've noticed the crafty ones of you have noticed the blue tack there, just so I can get it in frame. So yeah, a toning camo shade is what I'm applying at the moment, and that's going over a base of, what is this green? That Death World Forest? Is that what I'm using? Yeah, Death World Forest. So there's sort of like muted greens. So yeah, that's interesting. So I went into Games Workshop the other day. I work nights, so it's interesting for me. I'll actually show you my squad of orc boys I've been progressing on. I decided to break them down into batches of 10 to so I can actually paint them, because otherwise the motivation to paint gets killed off very quickly. Trying to soldier through 30 boys, and it's like painting green over 30 miniatures, painting metal, painting boots, you know what I mean? I need to find a quicker method. But then that brings me to the realization, I was wondering why there's not that many Blood Axe players out there. And I think I've found a reason why there's not that many Blood Axe players, because painting camo schemes on orcs is it looks awesome. It really does. When you put the detail in and you sit down and you paint those miniatures, they look awesome. But the problem is painting them. There's so many, man. So many. Think about it. It's like a mob of 30 orc boys is one troop choice, yeah? And on average, like, if you're a Space Marine player, you're going to have, what, 10 tactical Marines in a squad? So it's like the orc player is painting... the orc player is painting 3 times as much. You know? And that's just in regards to boys. Now, I know, what, boys are 6 points a pop. How many points are Space Marines? Like, something around the 18 region? I'm not too sure off the top of my head. So it's literally like you have 3 times the painting workload that that other players will have. So this was just a knob off of like one of my old that's a knob off of a mob of 30 boys. This is an Assault and Blackreach knob, so it's totally out of focus. It's a Assault on Blackreach knob, and I've just repainted his skin. Before that, his skin was, I don't know, it was like a Dark Angel's green or something like that, some funky color, some odd green. But yeah, I found it interesting because I went into the Games Workshop and I bought some paints, and I think I've never bought bottles of wash this big before. And all I seem to see on social media is people who've knocked them over, and it goes everywhere, man. It really does. So obviously, because it's a taller bottle, the center of gravity is higher, so therefore it's more susceptible to being knocked over. So you see guys who've glued a little MDF disc to the bottom of it. But yeah, I just want to show you something. It's like I went in and I bought some stuff. So I bought some paints to try out a new color scheme. So we like Dryad Bark, we have like Steel Legion Drab, Sycorax Bronze, so Death World Forest obviously, this is Ultuan Grey, that's for doing checkers. What's up? There's a dude on YouTube He's got a video up, but I can't remember his username. I'll have to put like a link in or something like that. And he came up with this color scheme. I just want to try it out. So all green camo for like highlights, and Elysian green. I think that's the next green I'm gonna try. And then it's like I bought a Thonian camo shade, Nuln oil, and Agrax earth shade, and that was 40 quid, man. So I forgot how expensive this stuff is. Tells you how often I paint or buy paints. It's like, what is it? I bought 5, 6, 7. I bought 7 paints and 3 washes, and it was 40 quid. Ouch. That is not cheap at all, man. Other colours I bought recently. I went into a model shop on Cable Street, and I bought I think I bought this like 2 weeks ago, so I may have showed you on the last stream. But this paint bottle is old as hell. Like, look, that's like rust spots from the display. But it's still liquid. Look, whoa, knocked me wet palette off. It's still liquid. Like, I had a look at it. It's pretty good. Plus the Vallejo colors, it's like they have a color line, and I think it's the same. Like, I've loads of little bits and pieces, like, you know, Vallejo wash. I just haven't. It's like, I'm one of those guys that's like, oh, I'll buy that and I'll do something, and then never does anything with it. It's like, oh yeah, I'll buy that Land Raider and I'll convert it. It'll be great eventually. Speaking of things I bought, got myself a new tea mug. Nice Disney Marvel tea mug. I broke my tea mug grill. Normally I got a fucking size of it. It's great. Nice thick walls. Just what you want for like a proper mug. Thick walls, big. Means it'll retain the heat, keep your tea warm. None of that thermal cup malark. Jesus, what was I saying? Yeah, so decent mug. What else? Orcs winning a grand tournament. Then there's the London GT. The London Grand Tournament was on this weekend, and people are posting up pictures of the scenery for that tournament, and it's crazy. Like, there's literally guys going up and playing on tables. I think it was like 50 quid to get in and play, from what I gather. Now, I could be wrong here, but it wasn't cheap. So you take into account, like, guys are travelling down to London. London's not cheap to get down to, like, you know. The trains are ludicrously expensive in the UK. Then if you're flying in, that's not going to be cheap either. Unless you're flying into London City Airport, which is the closest one. You can get the DLR, the Docklands Light Railway, and then onto the tube. So I don't know where it was hosted, whereabouts, but London's pretty well integrated transport-wise. But to take into account that people are probably not just going for a day, but for, like, they'll make a weekend out of it or whatever. That's what I'd do. If I was going to a London GT, I'd make a weekend out of it. So there's guys that could potentially be spending quite a few teeth to go to your grand tournament. And then we're seeing pictures of, like, blocks of styrene, like white styrene. So people have paid 50 quid and whatever else on transport and accommodation and yada yada, and there's literally pictures of, like, insulation, like, you know what I mean? There's your terrain, mate, you know, have at you. It's like, what? Man, I'd be so annoyed. I'd be really annoyed. That's a bit shitty. Seems like, from what I gather, from what I see at the moment, that it's badly organised. Do you know what that would be? That would be like, this is the reason why I don't organise stuff, is because I'm disorganised and I leave things last minute. And if I was to do a grand tournament, it would probably end up that way, because, you know, I'm disorganised, so I can understand how it ended up in that situation. But then to be expecting people to be paying 50 quid, now most of that's probably gone on the venue. I can understand that. London's not cheap. I can understand that most of that's gone on the venue, but then, like, how far in advance? There's questions that need to be asked. Like, if you're going to be running a tournament, you need to think, like, how far in advance are you organising it? Like, how long ago did you start selling tickets for it? Then how much of that ticket price was invested into terrain and battle mats and fold out tables or did you have that already, or you know what I mean? Is it run by a club? I don't know. There's plenty of variables, but for people to be paying 50 quid to be gaming on a table that they could have made at home after they bought their new microwave or dishwasher or went down to the local recycling facilities, you know, it's not acceptable, really. This should be a standard, and from what I gather, like Games Workshop went down to the tournament, but like some of the upper tables are good, so it's like some of the tables are set up to a good standard, but not all of them. You know what I mean? But then that's a disparity. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna sell cheaper tickets for people who want to play on cheaper terrain, and then sell more expensive tickets? So there's gonna be like first premium class sort of tickets for gaming tables, and then like economy. It's like, oh well, you only paid 50 quid. You get to play with the polystyrene. Yeah, you paid 75. You get to play with actual terrain that has paint on it. That's, you know what I mean? That's the type of thing. I don't know. Maybe it should just be a standard where if you don't meet the standard, you don't get like Games Workshop support. So I think Games Workshop have the potential to sort it out. Like, now I'm not saying it's Games Workshop's responsibility. I'm not saying it's Games Workshop's responsibility. It's far from that. These are independent tournaments, but I think Games Workshop go and like live stream or whatever. Games Workshop show up, or some staff from Games Workshop show up and do whatever. Since 8th edition's all about the tournament scene. Yeah, Games Workshop should be able to turn around and go, listen lads, that's not on, because this looks bad for them as well. Like, you know what I mean? It's supposed to be about promoting a hobby and the experience that goes with it. So we're always seeing the narrative being forged as a means of it. Like, there's one thing using your imagination when you're playing on the kitchen table. That's fine. That's grand. You know, we used to play out in my front garden playing 40k because we didn't have a table, like, and the grass was free terrain. But yeah, we used to use like rocks and stuff, but that's fine because all of our money was put into miniatures when we were younger. You know what I mean? We weren't running an event that costed 50 quid a ticket, not inclusive of transport, accommodation, you know, feeding yourself, whatever. I think when you're getting to that stage where you're organising stuff, you need to up your game or just walk away from it, because it's just not fair on people, you know. People who have families or jobs that they've taken time away from, they've had to organise far in advance. Some guys just love the tournament scene, that's their thing, like, you know, whether they were driving down in a car with a bunch of their mates, it's you know, when they're all going out to have fun and to show up and be presented with styrene blocks and cigarettes, you know what I mean? And it's a pity because it's styrene. It would be so easy, like, to make it presentable. It's like, oh, we don't have much time or whatever. It's like, grand. Get yourself a wire cutter. You two lads over it. Make it. This is how we'd do it, right? Spend a weekend. Take over someone's house. Find somewhere, right? Just get a weekend. Buy in pizzas. Buy in a couple of slabs of beers. And have a couple of lads on the styrene, just with hot wire cutters. You can make them yourself. There's YouTube videos. Couple of lads on hot wire cutters. Yeah, cutting it up. Couple of lads gluing stuff together. And then between the lot of yous, I'm sure if it's run by a gaming club, you can band together and get a fucking get yourself one of these bad boys. Here you go. This came with 2 El Cheapo airbrushes, but I bought it for the compressor. So that was like 100 and something quid, and then I spent whatever money on an airbrush. You can go super cheap, you can go a bit more expensive. But literally, that's all you need. And even if you're too cheap to buy an airbrush, which would make life a hell of a lot quicker and easier for you, just get an assembly line going. One guy cutting half foam, one guy gluing it together. You know what I mean? Another guy painting, and just pump them out. Order in the pizzas, have the beers there, and just bash it out, man. That's what you need to have done. And then once you've done it once you have that amount of terrain made and hopefully stored somewhere safely in somebody's shed or attic or wherever, stashed somewhere. Once you have that made, then it's, the workload is the initial investment. You only need to worry about storing it then afterwards and maintenance, touch-ups, Oh, this one's a bit battered. It's grand. It's fine if you're replacing one building. It's when you have to make, 60, 70, 80 tables worth of terrain. It's just the initial investment, but you can do it on the cheap. It just takes time, and I understand it's not easy. Life gets in the way, but if you're running a tournament, you have responsibility at that stage. It's a big responsibility, and fair play to people who do organise tournaments, because they take a lot of time, take a lot of their own time and invest into it. But then when you're organising an event and people are paying for it and showing up and all they're getting is blocks of styrene for terrain, it's not on, man. You know what I mean? Either up your game or do something else. It's okay for you if you're playing on your kitchen table with your mates. You can use fairy liquid bottles and your dad's washing powder as buildings and whatever. That's grand. That's between you and your mates. You're not, if you turn around to your mates and said, listen, I have a little tournament set up around in my house, throw 20 quid in each or whatever. You know what I mean? It becomes different. It becomes a transaction then. So you're providing a service. You've stepped into a different realm then at that stage. So that's the London GT from what little information I know. I've only seen a couple of pictures. I have friends of friends who went. I think my local group were chatting about it. So I'm in a few different groups and it's cropped up a few times. And people are like, oh, it's okay to game on. And then someone says to them, well, it cost them 50 quid. And then it's like, it's kind of taking the piss a little, So yeah, things I've been mucking around with. Let's have a look at my 40 quid worth of paint shall be moved out of shot. And let's have a look at my boys. So I'll dig them out. And they're nearly there. Oh my god. They're so close to being done. It's actually annoying me. The 10 of them, I mean. So Skarnir case is actually coming in pretty handy for just transporting paints. It's just a pity that the foam is going to shit, man. The foam is really going to right. So there's a boy, as I have. So most of the unit is like this. So I think it's okay tabletop standard, like. You know what I mean? Their skin is green, their clothes are a colour, there's metal on the guns. I've played with miniatures in worse condition than this. But there's still bits of this guy that aren't done, there's so much to do on this dude. But this is my problem, I need to find a quicker method of painting. Now, let's see, I should have a guy here who's almost done. This guy is nearly done. It's not coming out the May West. I must have changed my camera settings or the focal length on it. What is the point of having two cameras? It's like, I have this one set up okay, but this one is fucking shocking. Anyway, camo. So you can kind of see in that blurred mess that I've set up camo, but his skin is highlighted. His skin is slightly different, and I've done camo So it's camo on his helmet, and this is what I was getting at in regards to why there's probably not that many Blood Axe players, because it takes forever to do camo. It looks cool, but it's a pain in the ass. With orcs, you really need to just be painted in one colour. Like with this guy over here, he's a good example. That is Eshin Grey, I think is the colour. So the grey on this guy is just Eshin Grey. But then I have grey on this guy, but it looks slightly different now at this stage, where it's Eshin Grey, and then I think I did like Space Wolves Grey or some sort of whatever. There's a, actually this might be good for the Ultwan Grey. This is supposed to go over black and dark colours really well. Even though it's a layer paint, so maybe I'll start using that for the camo patterns, because I like it's. If I was doing normal camo, I'd do it so that it's subtle, but because it's orcs, it has to be kind of gaudy. It's like the camouflage isn't actually supposed to camouflage the units. It's supposed to be like reverse camo. You know what I mean? So like if you ever look at the likes of certain militaries or police forces in like the likes of third world countries or whatever, you'll see that they're camouflaged. Like, so say if a police force is wearing camouflage, they might be wearing like a blue digital camo, but it sort of stands out, so it's reverse camo. The whole point of it is not to camouflage you, but to show your presence. You know what I mean? So I think that's the way Blood Axes would do the camo, is not to actually hide themselves. Mind you, the commandos would. But it sort of stands out a bit, if you get me. So sort of like reverse camo. So that's why it'll be like mismatched and odd colours. So like digital camo and that type of stuff. Like if you ever look up crazy ass camos, mind you, camouflage has come in various colours throughout the years. Mountbatten Pink being probably one of the more funkier ones that I know about. If you don't know what Mountbatten Pink is, go Google it, man. It is it's a camouflage that was used during World War II by Lord Mountbatten, I think. Oh, me quoting facts is a bad idea because I have like vague memory. It's like tidbits of information across a very wide spectrum, but I don't really specialise in anything. Apart from orcs. I seem to like orcs. Which is not surprising really. So there we go. I've got 10 guys up to this standard, and there's still 20 to that standard. Now, I don't know. I'm trying out a different skin color, so you can, even with the shitty cam focus, see if I can change the focus on it. Now this might let's configure it. So the video output, no, that's not what we want. Configure. So I want to try the video input. Yes. Right. Now this is the problem. Either it's going to mess with this camera or it'll sort that one out. It's a bit of a lottery because they're both C920s. I suppose it'd be different if they were. See, look, I knew it. Mucking about. Yeah, right. So we leave that one alone. So then you need to save it and then change. So I need to go into that one. Configure 20 FPS. Configure video input. So professional with the live streams. So professional. So I've clicked on a different camera. And there you go. So that's the different camera set. Alright, so we'll click on this camera then. And we'll configure that video input manually. Right, so I've clicked on a different camera. Let's see what happens. There you go, see? Oh god. This just sums up my live streaming in general. Advanced settings, device info. Where's the other device? Web control, no, so, whatever. I'll have to muck around with it another time. It took me long enough to actually get the live stream going. I don't want to mess with it too much, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm trying out a different color. Not that you can see very well with the way things are here, but this is more of a, it's more of an olive color, and this is more of this one here is more cartoony, so this is more natural kind of, and I haven't gotten around to fully changing it. But I love painting the knobs, man. They're great crack. Like there's the other knob. Yeah, that's probably a better example. So this guy's still only got basic colors. I haven't highlighted his skin. I haven't done any of the camo patterns on him. I've literally just like picked out the detail. The focus on that camera is shocking. Is it like, where is it set to? Set to here? No. That's annoying me now. I'll try not to dwell on it too much. Yeah. So this is, I suppose this is tabletop standard. I suppose. Where it's just base colors picked out. And to be honest, I should be trying to focus on getting my faction to this standard, and then at a later date update it up a bit and picking out the, he's still not finished, like, that's the problem. I could spend hours painting, and I don't know what it is, like, it's just, I could spend hours painting orcs. Hours upon hours. Especially with the digital camo patterns. Or not digital, what do I keep saying digital? They're not digital camo, just with the camo patterns. I enjoy the end result. It just takes a very long period of time to get them sorted. So I have 10 guys up to a decent standard, but the 10 guys still aren't even finished. So my mob of 30 boys is at least to this standard. They all have that much paint on them. But I want to try out this different skin color. And then I'm thinking to myself, even if I don't want to do all of the orcs the same skin color, having some variation in the army might look a bit interesting. But then you're coming across the problem that you need a unifying color in the faction to tie it all together. And I think what happens with orc factions is because their gear is mismatched and all over the shop, like, and the clothing for my guys, I'm using the clothing to tie the units together. So if you look at this guy, for instance, when I painted this unit back in the day, I did like blue trousers and red, so I think there was another color. So it was like blue and red or whatever. So I picked a limited amount of colors, and I was like, that's the color that will tie that unit together. So you'll be able to tell. So you can tell at a glance that this guy and this guy are from two different units, because this lot here are all either wearing, they either have grey tops or grey bottoms, or khaki tops and khaki bottoms, and it's the same with the helmets. And then the camo is tied in. So while each orc may not be wearing the same colour pants and the same colour top, they all have the same type of colours on their items of clothing. So if they have the khaki, I'll do the khaki helmet like this one here. I like this dude here, yeah. So that's a good example there. So they both have like khaki helmets, and then this one has a khaki top and grey bottoms, but I haven't done camo on the bottoms. I may not do camo on all of the bottoms. I might just do a wash, because it's a military colour anyway. And then this dude has the khaki helmet as well, but then he has a grey top and then khaki bottom. So it's, you know what I mean? It's the same sort of colours, but just mixed around a bit. And then I'm just gonna leave the leather brown on these dudes. I was gonna paint it black, but I think I'm just gonna leave it brown so that it just ties that unit together. And with other units, I actually quite like the look of this dryad bark. I like the look of that dryad bark. So I do believe that this brown was Mornfang brown. Yeah. So the brown that leather is done in is Mornfang brown. But I think I like the darker sort of dryad bark. And then I'll probably highlight with a Mornfang brown for the leather. And I don't even know what this old miniature, but looks like snakebite leather or something. Anyway, his wash is dried, so I'm going to try and not hit the microphone, which helps. And we're going to not go near the styrofoam because it makes terrible noises. Oh, and I bought other stuff. What did I buy? What have I bought since we last talked? So we had the tea mug. We had the paints that cost 40 quid. And I managed to get a board game or two, so. Now I know the camera's backwards and whatever, but I managed to get this board game off of yeah, social media. So see, Dublin's funny, like, because the gaming community is so small, when you find someone selling something, either you'll have met them in the past or they're friends of your friends. So it's interesting. So I don't think I met the guy before, but he knew people who I knew, so it's interesting. I go in to buy the board games off of him, and you end up just talking to him. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you know, such and such about it. It's like, oh, yeah, of course, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But that's what I mean. Like, the gaming community in Dublin is so small that you either know someone directly or they're friends of somebody you know. Like, it's really small. And it probably helps that I've tried a different spectrum of things. So I've gone airsofting at one stage, and I like board games. I think I dabbled with magic at one stage. I tried LARPing, you know, so I've gone into different sort of little subgenres of gaming and try different things, and then you just meet different people over the years, and it's like, oh Jesus, how are you? How's yourself? I haven't seen you in 10 years. What's the crack? But anyway, great board game. I managed to get it at a reasonable price, since if you go Google this and look online and see what people are asking for, because it's no longer produced, and this one's still shrink wrapped. The precious. Yeah, Discworld Angmore Pop is it's a good game. My friend Craig over in London. Hello, Craig, if you're watching, which I think you do. He loves that game, man. Oh my god, he absolutely loves that game. And it's a good game as well, so I can understand why he loves it. But he's really good at it, the cheeky fuck. He also plays Elder. Filthy Elder. I had to put up with 7th edition of playing against him, man. Oh my god, the psychic phase. The memories. The suppressed memories of the Elder psychic phase. It's like, oh. Well, yeah, that was still good crack though, but like, yeah, 7th Ed Eldar psychic phase. It's like, how many paradise have you got there, mate? 13? Oh, fair enough. How many have I got? 2. Yeah, that's how that went down. And then I'll grab another board game I bought. You can tell like I'm very prepared for this stream. I bought an expansion for Relic. It's Relic is pretty much Talisman. I have it up there, but I could not be arsed taking it out. I just wanted to show this one. Yeah, this is all still like shrink wrapped and stuff, but Relic is pretty much based on Talisman, the board game. Says well. If you've not played Talisman, Talisman's actually an okay game. It tends to go on forever, man. So the whole concept of Talisman is you're playing on a board game, Fair enough. You're playing on a board game with concentric rings. So on the outside of it is the sort of easy area, and then there's like 3 rings and then a middle area. So basically the whole premise of the game is you go around and around until you go around and around collecting gear, killing monsters, fighting other characters if you want, until you get enough gear and level yourself up enough on your abilities that you can go into the middle of the board and beat the big bad and win the game. That's Talisman. And Relic is a 40k version of it. I think with some slight differences, but it's pretty much Talisman. Talisman's an old Games Workshop game that they were dealing with Fantasy Flight, but I think there's a new version of Talisman coming out again since they no longer do board games with Fantasy Flight. So what else do I have up there that was produced by Fantasy Flight for Games Workshop that probably won't see the light of day? I have Forbidden Stars. Yeah, I haven't played Forbidden Stars. That looks interesting though. I might have to do a board game review of that. I might, it'd be helpful if I actually played these games, instead of just buying them and looking at them and going, oh, it looks lovely. But yeah, Forbidden Stars was a case of me buying another a board game off of someone else. They were like, I've never played it. Me mates have no interest. It's like, don't worry, I'll take that one. And then I have some other bits and pieces knocking around. I'm sure Steve-O would recognise this git. For those of you who are slightly light on the years, that is a Hero Quest Orc. And if you don't know what Hero Quest is, my god, I feel sorry for you. Broadsword. It's a board game that Games Workshop did back in the 90s, maybe even the 80s. I have it up there, but I couldn't be bothered pulling it out. But anyway, I can honestly, without a shadow of a doubt, Hero Quest was the best board game that Games Workshop were ever involved in. Ever. Like I own Space Hulk, and Space Hulk is great, but Hero Quest is awesome. It really is. Hero Quest is just, it's in a league of its own, man. It really is, and it saddens me that it's not made anymore. I think Games Workshop would make an absolute fucking mint if they managed to sort out whatever licensing they need to get Hero Quest re-released, and just update the models and the board and just leave the rules the way they are. If they literally just made a 2018 version of Hero Quest where the rules are still the same, you know what I mean? It would, they wouldn't be able to keep it in stock, man. Like Space Hulk is another travesty in my eyes. It should be continuously produced because it's a great intro game. Like, I don't see the point of making Space Hulk a limited run game. Yeah, limited. Even if they only bring it out in batches, but it's, they got awards for it. That's how good like Space Hulk is. Space Hulk's a great game, and then, with their reputation's tarnished then in regards to, but like as a board gamer, there are only probably like 2 board games that Games Workshop have been involved with that are actually worthwhile. 3, we'll say 3. So directly by Games Workshop themselves, Space Hulk and Hero Quest. Now I managed to get myself a Dread Fleet box set there, self-contained game, after I watched reviews of it, and it seems to be okay, but it's the same problem that you're going to get with Games Workshop. What do I mean by this? I mean, you're going to buy a board game, you're going to open it, and you're going to be confronted by a mountain of sprues. Board gamers don't want that, man. I want to be able to buy a board game. Okay, maybe there might be a little assembly with pieces and stuff, but most of the time, like 9 times out of 10, I buy a board game, I take the stuff off the shrimp crap, we read the rule book, and then we play. We don't, unless you're going to be supplying this with every, copy of that Assassinorum game that you selling, which I still haven't played since I bought it, because when I bought it, I played it with my friend at the time, and we played using his miniatures, because funnily enough, all the miniatures that came in there are just standard miniatures. You know? Chaos Lord, old as the hills, needs to be assembled. Assassins need to be assembled. Cultists need to be assembled. So they need to be assembled and then painted. Well, you know, board gamers, you're not really going to care about whether the miniature is painted or not. But you know what I mean? So I think the problem is Games Workshop, you see board games as a means to trap. Well, not trap, that's probably the wrong word. They see it as an avenue into their hobby. Which I think is a good idea, but I just think their approach is wrong. I think their approach should be the approach that Hero Quest, to a lesser degree, and Space Hook, to a much greater degree, are good means of an entry. I can't even talk. Like, my brain is thinking too much at this stage. I'm not very eloquent with words, you know. I can understand basic English, oogs and ahs and choppers to the face. But yeah, I think trying to get people into the hobby by supplying miniatures for a board game that need to be built and glued together. I can understand that they're trying to get people into that hobby bug. That sort of, oh well, I built these guys, so let's paint them on, you know. I think that's an issue though, because it's a deterrent as well for people who either aren't wargamers or who have no real interest in just making miniatures and painting them. You know what I mean? When you buy a good board game, you just want to play the board game. You want to be able to take it out of the box there and then and play it, or go around to the pub around the corner and commandeer a table. You don't want to have to sit there for like 2 hours making miniatures. Oh, now we can play it, lads. Because that sort of, that initial spark, that excitement gets killed off very quickly when you have to sit down and make a mountain of things. But I can understand why board games are used. These Games Workshop board games are used as a means to get people into the hobby. I think that's a great idea. I just think their approach is wrong. I think the approach they should take is the approach they took with Space Hook, where the miniatures are push-click together, and they're brilliant miniatures. They really are. And what happens then is you push-click those miniatures together, okay, and you get playing the game straight away, and what draws you into the 40k universe is that campaign, that storyline. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, my hairs are starting to go on end here just talking about it, remembering. Like, when I bought Space Hulk, me and my friend Hugh, who lived in Dublin at the time, we played the absolute shit out of that game, man. I mean, holy smokes. Like, I think we went through the whole scenario pack. We used to do mad things like 24-hour binges of playing 40k, where we came up with our own campaign system. Whatever, that's won't go down that rabbit hole now. What we're talking about Space Hulk. We played the snot out of Space Hulk. I mean, my God, if ever there was a board game I got me money's worth, Space Hulk was definitely it. We played through that whole scenario pack, and that's the thing. Like, it's a story-driven scenario. So there's like a storyline. So you read the storyline, and then you'll go through and you'll play the scenarios, and then there'll be more storyline, and the next, and it all ties together. Sorry, it all ties together. I really like narrative campaigns like that. It's really, that's what it is though. Space Hulk, the board game, is a narrative campaign, a self-contained narrative campaign. But that's the whole thing of Space Hulk. That's why I think it's so successful, and such a travesty that it's not continuously produced by Games Workshop, because you get sucked into the 41st millennium. You get sucked into that universe, and it builds like a hunger, a thirst to want to know more. You're like, oh, these Terminators are pretty cool, and you know, you're told about different factions and stuff like that, and you have gene stealers. So there's obviously the good guy, bad guy narrative going on, but like, you're drawn into the 41st millennium, and you want to learn more. You want to know more. You know what I mean? I think that's the healthy way to do it, is to get people hooked onto the concepts and ideas, and then they'll have a hunger, a natural hunger themselves to want to go and buy miniatures or want to paint the miniatures for their Space Hulk box set or whatever. You know what I mean? If it's a good game in and of itself, it should draw the players in. It shouldn't be a gimmick, which is the problem with the Assassin game. Space Hulk was clearly designed. Those miniatures for Space Hulk were clearly designed just for Space Hulk. Space Hulk was a board game with miniatures designed for it. The Assassinorum game was a game designed for various sprues. That's the big difference there. And that's where it's lacking. The game itself should be able to stand on its own two legs and draw people in. Which is what I think Space Hulk does an absolutely cracking job of. It really does. Such a pity that it's not continuously. Like, even if they only brought it out every Christmas. It's like, oh, we made a couple of thousand coming up into the Christmas period. Here, buy them for yourselves or for your friends or whatever, because that's what Space Hulk is. It's a great if I was to buy someone a board game that I wanted them to get into Warhammer 40k, I'd buy them Space Hulk. I'd buy them Space Hulk, and like, for instance, my brother, he has absolutely no interest in 40k or Warhammer. When we were kids, I think he had like a unit of Saurus warriors from like 48 Fantasy or whatever, but he never really got into it. But he likes playing games. You know what I mean? I think most people like playing games. He likes playing board games and stuff the odd time. Like, I used to play Risk with my brother and my sister. And when we talk, I forget sometimes because I play a lot of war games and I play board games. I'm very immersed in it, but they aren't as much like. But they enjoy it. Like, when we sit down and talk about it, we talk about, I do sometimes be taken aback about how they talk fondly about playing Risk together. You know what I mean? About the good times we had in that regard. And I think Space Hulk has the potential to do that. I think Space Hulk, if you bought Space Hulk for someone and then sat down and played with them, that they'd be hooked into it. Like, it's like, I know my perspective is pretty biased in that regard because, like, I'm a war gamer, but even looking at it from the outsider's perspective, I've had people play Space Hulk with me and they're like, I've no idea what this Warhammer is or whatever, but they found it interesting and then they want to know more. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay. They want to know more about 40k. That hunger builds up. You know what I mean? That interest, that inquisitiveness that we all have inside us. It's exciting when you see that in someone where they want to know more about your hobby, sort of. And then, so you can become an ambassador of the hobby. You can promote it. It becomes so easy to promote then. Whereas if you turn up and you're like, well, here's my 2,000 point army. And they're like, oh yeah, that looks pretty impressive. How long did that take you to paint? How much did that cost you? How long have you been? You know what I mean? Space Hulk is a good, like, little stepping stone, because getting people into, like, wargaming straight off the bat is like, you're gonna have to fight against that tide. Which is probably the reason why we don't have many orc players as well. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, we're going for Elysian green here on this dude. It's probably the reason why we don't have many orc players, because the armies are so expensive to get into. Is that still wet? That can't still be wet. Oh, that's weird. Some of the wash that I put in the other day has dried in like a blob, but it's like glossy and hard. It's interesting. Anyway, so we're gonna put Elysian green onto this guy because I want to try out the skin color. What fucking, look at this large brush. Look at the bleeding state of it. I'll use that one. I think it's funny when people look at like some of the older Games Workshop brushes, like this is the blue one, This is old. Now this isn't old in my eyes. The old ones are like the red ones. Do you remember them? The red ones with the bolter around paints. Like these are only 10 years old. These aren't old. Then there's older ones again. The hexagonal ones with the white lids. Interesting times. So we'll give this an old shake. And we'll have a crack. Since it's a fresh pot, I just broke the seal on. Whoop whoop. But yeah, it's interesting. Like I'm looking at rumors that there are, and I'm not much of a rumor monger. And this is the thing I don't like about these pots. Alright, so I've shook it. But like, look at all this shit in the back. You know what I mean? So then, I've taken my paint out. You can see here. All along here. All along this back part. That's paint that's now in at the seal. And it happens on all the fuckers. Look. Probably see it easier on this. This is why I don't like Games Workshop paint pots. Look at this. You know what I mean? All of this is, that's in at the seal, so then your pots are more liable to dry out. I think these paint pots are a really shitty design. But sure. What can you do? Might change over to a different painting line. Says the man who spent 40 quid on 10 paint pots. I've been looking at the Vallejo paint sets. There's a supplier in Ireland who's actually selling them at a reasonable price. I think I've watered this down a little bit too much. I have. I can tell because it's beating up. Oh Jesus. You can't even see because it's so fucking white. Anyway, this is beating up. It shouldn't be beating up. I'm starving. Hear my stomach rumbling. But yeah, so I'll put in a bit more paint. This is way too much paint for one dude. I might paint one of the Gretchen with this. Don't know. But yeah, do any of you guys like collect orcs and paint orcs? Because I'm interested in the fluff. The old fluff. The older orcs get, the darker they're supposed to be. But do people actually reflect that in their armies? Like, are you painting your knobs darker than... you're painting your knobs darker. Are you painting your knobs darker than your boys? This is going to be a pain in the hole to paint. Are you painting your knobs darker than your boys? And then are you painting your war bosses darker than the knobs? You know what I mean? Because it's supposed to be, as you get older, you to become darker and more gnarled and all that type of stuff. And I hate doing this part of it where you're supposed to be highlighting stuff. Super gnarly, dude. Yeah, so like, orcs are supposed to be basically immortal. The whole concept behind it is they just keep getting bigger and more gnarly as they get older. If I left it in shot, wouldn't I? So yeah, they're supposed to be getting this setup is terrible. They're supposed to get more gnarly as they get older. I've said gnarly like 5 times now. But they get bigger. And I think they don't die naturally. I've seen that in fluff somewhere. Where it's a case of... like Space Marines. Space Marines are functionally immortal, and I think Eldar are as well. They're functionally immortal, where basically they don't die of old age. No, Eldar, it's definitely. I don't know about Space Marines now. Dying of old age. So what tends to kill them is either like fucking disease, or in the 41st millennium where there is only war, you'll get a dose of that. That'll sort your immortality out for you there, buddy. You know what I mean? It's like, immortal you say? Not on my watch. So yeah, well, orcs are functionally immortal. They're very warlike. Extremely warlike. That's what they function off of. Function off of fighting stuff. Constantly fighting amongst themselves. When there's nothing else to fight, which is what really annoyed me about the previous Here We Go or mob rules from 7th edition. It's like, yeah, orcs fight in and amongst themselves when there's nobody else to fight. You know? If orcs are travelling through space for prolonged periods of time and they're bored out of their tinsel, yeah, they're gonna have like fighting pits, and they're gonna fight and knock the snot out of each other just to keep themselves entertained, you know? But, not on the battlefield, where there's enemies. It's like, that was just stupid. I think that was the problem with 7th. Was the codex was just, there was no love for the orcs. I honestly think that codex was written by someone who just either doesn't play orcs or doesn't like them. That's what happened there. Because it literally does not make sense in any regard. Yeah, orcs will infight when there's nothing else around, but when there's enemies like right in front of them, or they'll beat each other up. It's like, okay, I can understand they're keen for the fight, so they'd be crawling, you know, they'd be standing over each other to get to the enemy. They're not just gonna fucking... It's like, it's stupid. You know what I mean? It really is annoying when rules like that come into the game. I don't know who came up with that idea, that concept. To have like self-immolating units. That's the last thing you want. I spend my time painting up 30 orc boys for a unit, right? I don't mind if the enemy kills them. That's all part of the game. But what annoys people is when you paint up a unit, right? And you bring it onto the battlefield, and it does more damage to itself than the enemy does. Like, how's that fun? You know? It just sort of takes the fun out of it. Oh, I painted 60 boys and 40 of them killed themselves. You what? You what, mate? You know? I am doing a fucking haggard ass job of painting this guy. Doop-a-doop-doop. But yeah, I've never liked those rules. That's why I never collected orcs in Warhammer Fantasy. Because I didn't like the animosity rules. I just thought it was stupid. Like, I've always liked orcs, but I thought it was really stupid that orcs would start beating themselves up on the battlefield where there's an enemy. It just made no sense at all. And maybe it's just a bit of Flanderization. You know what I mean? Fucking boards. I can hear them from here, the bastards. Magpies. Where it's people with outside perspectives looking in on them, and oh yeah, orcs, yeah, orcs, yeah, love to fight each other. Of course orcs love to fight each other. Humans love to fucking fight each other as well. Because we're all money hungry cunts. You know? Orcs live for the fight. Of course orcs live for the fight. They love the fight. So when you get them onto the battlefield to fight the enemy, they'd be in their bleeding element. But yeah, self-immolating armies is... It's a really bad concept. You know? It really is. It makes it... takes the fun out of it for the guy who's playing the army. Like, because I think they did that to Tyrannids as well at one stage. The poor Nids. Or your units will start killing each other, or killing themselves when they're out of synapses range. What? Oh yeah, they're mindless monsters. They're mindless creatures. They'll start to kill each other when they're out of synapse range. It's like, what? What gobshite came up with that fucking concept? That's just not fun to play, you know? It really isn't. And if it's disheartening for me, I can only imagine what new players feel like when they're... Can you even see those highlights? I really need to sort that camera out. Yeah, it's disheartening for people. So why would you collect a faction that sort of tears itself apart when you can play Space Marines? Yeah, man, they love putting their eggs in that basket, don't they? And there seems to be a lot of controversy lately about the Horus Heresy game. People losing their shit. Oh my god! Forge World are discontinuing! All these bits. Oh my god. They're going into specialist games, mate. You know? They're moving on, sadly. Which is why I never got into the Horus Heresy, because, quite frankly, I think Marines fighting Marines is a bit boring. But that's my own personal opinion. Regardless of that, the main reason why I never got into Horus Heresy is because it's a niche within a niche. Like, I can't play my 40k orcs against your Horus Heresy Marines because that's not what it's designed for. The power levels are totally different. It's like we could do it, but I'd have no fun at all. You know what I mean? Or worse still, oh yeah, I want to... let's play a game. Okay, well I'm using my 30k World Eaters. Oh, well I'm playing my Tyranids. Didn't happen, mate. Oh, but the rule set is great. It's like, but you have to... This is the problem you have when you stray away from the core game, is the peripheral games don't get updated. You know? It's like mods for games. That's what it is. Horus Heresy was a mod for 40k, yeah? Do you ever play like mods for games and it's like the base game gets updated but then your mod doesn't? It's like, oh, pants. That type of thing. But yeah, I never saw the point in playing Horus Heresy. Now it looks lovely. The guys who I've seen playing down in the local store, there are some guys here in Dublin. It looks amazing. The miniatures look cool. They really do. You know what I mean? But I just didn't see the point in it. There's no 30k orcs, you know? No beast arises. If they had some of him, it would have been a different matter. But yeah, well, now I can see the allure for people. You know? Like, I'm crazy about orcs, so I can understand how people could be crazy about about their own specific factions, but I think most people don't actually collect just one faction. I am an anomaly. I think I'm... Yeah. I think it stems back to when I used to play Warhammer Fantasy and 40k. Because you'd have two factions. So like you'd be collecting dwarves and stuff. And this tea is probably ice cold now. Ugh, oh Jesus. Delightful. Yeah, I think it goes back to when I used to play Fantasy and 40k. So I had like two armies. So then I only just... Well, let's see, what did I start off with? I started off with Bretonnians and Lizardmen, because I had the 5th edition box set. I think I had the 5th edition Warhammer Fantasy box set. So I started off with Bretonnians. Because I thought they were cool. Knights on horseback were cool. I never really liked the Empire. My God. The painting on this is shocking. Yeah, I never really liked the Empire. I always liked Britannia. Because they were knights on the horses. Knights of the realm. You know? Sort of King Arthur type stuff. All that sort of fantasy type stuff. Normal fantasy. Your Conan the Barbarians and stuff. Great stuff, man. I think that's probably another reason why I like Hero Quest so much. It's like Conan the board game. You are the barbarian. The barbarian. I remember when we were kids, we used to play out in the garden. And me and my friends, we were playing, and then there was girls. We were teenagers at the time. There was girls that lived in the local area, and whoever, they were hanging out with somebody, so they came up to torment us and slag us off. And one of them came over and picked up the character card for the barbarian, and she was trying to be a smart ass or something. You are the barbarian. And we laughed so much. Looking back, it's petty because you're kids and stuff, but it was just hilarious to us, man. Good times. You know? And either those friends have either moved on or they're dead. You know what I mean? Which is a pity. Dying at such a young age. It's yeah. Life throws curveballs at people, and some people just ain't able to take that many hits, man. It's sad, really. It really is. But say la vie. What can you do? That's life. You go on. We either laugh or we cry, as they say. But yeah, Hero Quest, man, good memories. So what I did with my Hero Quest set is I bought, because I was given, I had a Hero Quest set, but then my mother threw it out. It wasn't mine, it was my my father's. Obviously that relationship went sour. So then anytime my mother saw the ball game, it reminded her of him, I would assume. But whatever, we won't hold it against her. It's cool. Don't worry about it. Alright? So I had a board game, and then it was thrown out. Alright? So I'm fucking heartbroken. Because I remember as a really young kid, there was always this Hero Quest set in there, and it looked cool, and it had the barbarian and stuff, and I was never allowed to fucking play with it. Never allowed to play with it. You know what I mean? And then when it was given to me, I was forced to throw it out. Heartbreaking stuff.
What can you do? Anyway, one of my friends, years later, we moved to a different area. And one of the guys, a little younger than me, they're all roughly about the same age, but one of the guys had a Hero Quest set. And straight away I was like, fucking, I know this board game. Obviously I'd never played it, but I knew that it came with like skeletons and orcs and barbarians and dwarves and stuff. So I was like, yeah, let's play it. And they wanted to play as well. So it was like, alright, cool. Let's sit down and play. Okay, well, someone has to be the dungeon master, the bad guy. It's like, I volunteered, I think. You know what I mean? It's like you want to have a 40k campaign going, you need to sort of run the first one to get the ball rolling. So I was like, alright, cool, I'll be the dungeon master. I'll control the bad guys. Because I actually liked setting up the pieces. Because as you go, so say we're playing Hero Quest here, okay? And you're going along, and you'll turn a corner with your miniature. So say there's like a wall there or whatever. You'll turn a corner with your miniature. Anything, like there's nothing on the board. So as you progress through it, you'll reveal stuff. It's kind of like a fog of war. So as you progress, so say you turn a corner and you look down, it'll be like, okay, so what's in here's the line of sight? Well, there's a door here and there's a pitfall there, that type of thing. I used to like setting that stuff up. I used to like referencing the book and seeing what way the map was set up. Because I'm a very visual person, and that probably comes down to all of the Lego kits I built as a kid. I always liked looking at stuff, you know what I mean? I think it was a case of I got used to looking at Lego sets and things like that and going, there's something wrong here. And then you'll look at it visually and compare it. It's like those, do you ever see those pictures where it's like, there's something different from this picture to this picture, can you spot it? My brain works a lot like that. It's very visual. You know, like matching things up and looking at patterns, and humans are really good at that apparently. Seeing patterns. So yeah, that's why I like doing that in Hero Quest. But then the problem was, that's all they wouldn't let me be anything else. They'd only let me be the dungeon, but you do it so well. Because I used to get really into reading the scenarios and stuff. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it was a case of what the other guys in the group were intentionally being half-assed, or if I actually was very good at it. You know, but it was fun. Even just being the DM, like it was fun playing against the players, but not in a sort of I'm going to kill you and win type of thing. I used to like as the level unfolded and the progression and how it came out sort of thing. As the scenarios unfolded, the storyline. And that's the thing about Hero Quest that is similar to Space Hulk, is there's like a narrative campaign sort of thing. A linear campaign where you'll do one scenario and then you'll play another one. And they'll like follow on from each other. Maybe that's why I like the ideas of a campaign, of like a 40k. I've never actually played in a 40k campaign properly. Like me and my friend Hugh, many years ago, we play tested some rules. We came up with the rules for 40k. We wanted to do a progression system. So we liked the idea of Necromunda, but we like playing 40k. So what we did was we changed and modified some rules and progression for 40k units. And then we came up with all different rules, like attrition rules. So like if a certain percent of your unit was killed off, you'd have to get fresh recruits. You'd have to roll for reinforcements if you had like if I had a pain boy. So like we had the rules set up so that if you lost a miniature, and it was a like a troop or whatever. You'd have to roll with the pain boy to see if he recovered at the end of the battle. And I think we did this during 5th edition. We came up with these rules, and it was the same for vehicles. If you lost a vehicle, you'd if I had a mech boy, you'd roll up and to see what would happen. So what would happen is sometimes guys would die and you wouldn't get reinforcements. Or I remember I had a looted wagon, and I think the looted wagon costed 35 points at the time, and then the gun on the looted wagon cost 75 or 70 points or something like that. So the gun was twice the cost of the vehicle. And we came up with like charts and tables and stats to see what would happen to the vehicle at the end. So I specifically remember I had this looted wagon, and because it had been lost during the battle, when it came to the recovery stage of it, it lost its weapon. So I had this vehicle that I paid so many points for, and I paid through the nose through its weapon, but its weapon was destroyed indefinitely. So it was fun in that regard, because you'd end up with like units that, as we fought more battles, the armies were becoming more ragtag and that type of thing. You know what I mean? Where it's like you'd have experienced units. So you get units, and you'd, after so many battles, they'd get experience. And then you could give them abilities. Like I remember my battle wagon at the time had like Tank Hunter and all these different abilities that we came up with, all different charts, because we made a load of charts. I really must email him and see if he has those campaign rules, and see where they went, because we had charts for everything, you know. So you'd end up with like Fearless, Imperial Guardsmen, and all this type of stuff back when we had universal special rules. Yeah, I had like Tank Hunter on my battle wagon. But there was one moment in the campaign that I remember really well. Was it the campaign, or was it just the 40k game? See, we played so much 40k, man. That really was like, I knew the Imperial Guard like the back of my hand because I played them that much. We knew each other's armies so much. You know what I mean? Which is interesting in and of itself, because when you play someone so many times, you get used to how the army is built. So this would have been around 2010, I think. So I knew how the Imperial Guard worked, inside and out. You know, your Hellhounds, your command squads, and your Manticores and all this type of stuff. But it was fun. It really was fun. We had some great times with that campaign system. And that would have been in and around the time that we bought, well, I bought Space Hulk. We used to play Space, so it was around 2009, I think. 2009, 2010. There was a period of time where the two of us were unemployed. Short period of time. Then I went and got a job. And, yeah, man. It was just crazy. Really good memories. Now, did the dude put a shade over this layer, or because I'm still painting this knob, by the way. Done like highlights. I really need to sort this camera out for the next stream. This stream has been an absolute disaster. So I set up this live stream event, okay, and it wouldn't let me stream to the event, but it would let me stream live now, like straight away, but it wouldn't let me stream to the event that I've set up. But what I plan on doing is every 2 weeks I'll do a live stream on a Sunday. So the Sunday live stream, fishing Barents Sea. Jesus, I don't get why people play fishing games on 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 the PC. Mind you, there's probably people out there going, why the hell is this guy painting little orc miniatures and playing games with them? So, each to their own, I suppose. You know? But yeah, I think his skin's looking alright. I need to put another layer of PVA glue on this sand because I can feel it flaking off as I'm moving it around. But I don't know where my polyvinyl adhesive is gone, or wood glue, or white glue, or whatever name you want to call it. I need to sand his base. But yeah, that's looking alright actually. It's looking a bit light in comparison. But yeah, it's not too bad. So yeah, Hero Quest. So I have Hero Quest orcs and stuff. I bought these orcs here because my my Hero Quest set is missing a few orcs, so I need to sort him out, and there's all little different things like bits of terrain and stuff. I think I bought this stuff for like £5 off of someone. So eventually, ideally, it would be great if I had all of this stuff painted. But then it's like it's made out of cardboard as well, so I don't know. I might plasticard, like upgrade the set. If you know what I mean. Upgrade it and paint it. That'd be interesting. See, this is my problem. I'm an ideas guy. I don't really execute stuff. I just sort of come up with concepts and go with it. I am so thirsty, I'm tempted to drink the fucking paint water. No, we're cool. So I'll have a look. Watching now, live stream, top chat. Hey, what's the crack? Jesus, that was like nearly an hour. Are you still there, bud? Poor chap, probably listened to me rambling on. And then my screen decides to turn itself off. So yeah, I'm gonna finish off the skin for this knob, this new skin tone. It looks okay, like in comparison to, like it's a totally different green. You know what I mean? Like this is like, the boy is like nuclear radioactive green, whereas this one's sort of like, it's more natural, I suppose. But yeah, this dude's like crazy green. So what's the difference in the greens? The paints that I paint my orcs in, what I do is I do a Wa flesh currently, and then I do the Warboss green, and then I throw the Bale Tan shade on it. Now, if I was crazy, I suppose I could come back then with another Warboss green, but there's too many orcs, man. You know what I mean? It's just, there's too many orcs. And I don't put the shade on just the Warboss green straight away, because I find that the shade ties them together. But I don't know, man. I don't know. This is part of my problem with orcs. I still haven't gotten a skin color that I'm super happy with. You know what I mean? But we'll see what happens. And like I was saying, worst case scenario, you can have various greens across your orc army, but then the unifying colour for orc factions tends to be the skin colour, which is a bit odd in regards to armies. Like the only other one I can think of that's really like that is probably the Tyranids. So the Tyranids are at the extreme end of that spectrum, where it is skin and carapace is the unifying colours, whereas most other armies it tends to be the uniforms and the vehicles. Whereas with these guys' vehicles, I'll have a theme set. I'm actually quite liking that green. I have a theme set in that they're blood axes, so it's all going to be camo of various colour shades and guises. But yeah, the unifying colour potentially should be the skin, but I don't know, man. I might see what's going on, like. Like, it's different greens altogether. Totally different greens. Like they're from two different planets. But that's what I like about orcs. It's like your green for your orcs could be totally different from my green for my orcs, and that's fine because they're orcs. They're all. It's not all cut and shunt. You know what I mean? It's not like with Space Marines where it's like this faction is specifically this color. I find it funny when you see like even Games Workshop Studio and stuff like that. They'll have like their Imperial fists, so they're all yellow. But if you look at yellow Imperial fists that have been painted by different guys, the yellows will be different tones of yellow and stuff like that. And it's more noticeable on like the likes of Space Marines because they're supposed to be a standard color. They're all supposed to be the same color. You know what I mean? Or whatever. There's supposed to be like Ultramarines are all supposed to be ultramarine. And I didn't know that. I find that funny. I didn't say I don't come from an art background, so like the word ultramarine was introduced to me from the 40k perspective. I didn't realize it was actually the name of a color. So you can see where they got ultramarines from because they're ultramarine blue. I know, man. I know it's ridiculous. I just thought they were ultramarines, but it's a play on words. If you get me, you know what I mean. If you get me, but yeah, I'm liking the look of this. It's looking half decent. I think it looks a hell of a lot better than the color that it was previously. A hell of a lot better. I don't know what the hell the color was previously. It was like a dark angel's green, I think it was. So really dark green. And then I think it was dry brushed like snot green. It wasn't even that bright. I don't have another miniature to hand that was the same colour as him, but this green looks way better. And knobs are actually pretty easy to paint compared to boys. I think it's because they have like this miniature. I think it's because they have such open stances in compared to the boys. Like look at the boy with the shooter. He's all like hunched over and fucking the gun's like right in, and you know what I mean? Whereas the knobs tend to be more open. Like even this guy here. They're just so much nicer to paint. They really are. Like I didn't quite understand when people used to say that about painting character miniatures, how they'd paint troops and then they'd reward themselves with a character or something. But I actually get it now. I think in part it's got to do with these are newer molds, newer miniatures. Like this, I think the old orc boy is like at least a decade older than the sprue for this knob. At least a decade older. And then it's just the stance as well. So like shooter boys are all hunched up, whereas these guys are like the knob's got an open stance and a power claw. They're really nice miniatures to paint. So I enjoy painting the knobs for the units. So if I painted a unit of knobs, I'd be chuffed. And I like going into a bit more detail with the knobs. I haven't fully painted this one yet. But yeah, base colours for units. I think I should probably focus on base colours. And then my years in retirement I can spend painting camo on in various patterns. But yeah, it's interesting to see other people's takes on orc skin color and variations in it. And what's really cool to see is when people do crazy stuff like orcs in grey, their skin grey, their skin red, blue skin. You can do orcs in any colour, man. Paint them white if you want. Fair play to you. I've seen that actually. Like that Mad Max film. The what are they, the War Boys? They're crazy, but I can't remember the names of them. But whatever, I've seen that sort of chalky, whitish kind of body paint colour or radioactive sickness or whatever, Trevor. Right, so I think that's the end of this stream for today. We will have to call it a day. It's been fun, apart from the technical issues that I had because it's a live stream event that I scheduled instead of just hitting live randomly, so I'm going to have to sort that one out.
Every 2 weeks, every second week, the Sunday, we're doing a live stream. Unless the apocalypse comes. The apocalypse. So, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks to Steve-O for commenting again. He's normally dropping in. My apologies that I unintentionally ignored you. Absolute fucking gent. Alright, so we're gonna call it a day. Let's see if we can stop that recording.